let's just say compared to other franchises that have been rebooted, you know, this is a breath of fresh air.
That's the thing. I mean, look, I know Star Wars comes up almost every show. My apologies. It's usually me bringing it up, but the thing is, it's such a perfect example of what not to do, like how not to, you know, respect the legacy characters, how not to, you know, treat your fans, how not to treat the fans,
right?
How not to treat even actors. Like everything that happened with Gina Carano is like, was horrific that came out. This is how Disney treats their talent. You know, it's political bigotry. It's disgusting. I don't know. Do you guys have thoughts on that? Like, we had a long discussion.
I mean, again, we're talking about Disney though, right? Like Disney is, they make bad decisions all day, every day, man. It was a little weird, like listening to them bring up her character in The Mandalorian and the first episode of season 3. And to be honest with you, I'm surprised they didn't kill off her character.
Right. They just sort of wrote her out with a line. Oh, she's just off.
Yeah, she's doing special forces.
Special forces, whatever. It's like, I don't know. I think Jon Favreau should just bring her back and say to Disney, we can't do this. We can't keep doing this to people. Jon Favreau would be a hero if we brought Gina Carano back. Having said that, does Gina Carano want to do that? To be so publicly humiliated by a major corporation who lied about her.
I think she'll come back if she has a more prominent role.
Right. Well, they were supposed to
do a bigger paycheck.
They were going to do a series surrounding Gina Carano's character, an entire series that ended up getting basically shelved because of all that, you know, because of the nonsensical way she was treated, which was disgusting to me.
I'm really curious if Disney is ever going to learn their lesson. Like, are they going to just go all in on this and say, you know what, we'll ride it out till we go broke? Or like, I don't understand the people making these decisions right now. Like, I understand they can afford to lose money, but how much money can you afford to keep losing?
See, they're not in a position yet to where they're going to hit in the pocketbook. You know, Ant-Man still made a whole lot of money.
Yeah, but it also lost a lot by the second week.
Yeah, but they still made a lot of money, and you know, they're not even, once they start being honest about, you know, the box office and honest about fan feelings, it won't change. You know, and just to keep going down this road. I mean, you know, like when I saw Black Tinkerbell, you know, I felt the same way about White Tinkerbell. I'm not represented in either one. You know, it's just there's this hypocrisy, and they're leaning into it, thinking that people care about this stuff. You know, we just want good stories, and we want characters that still feel familiar when we read about those characters. Michael, yes, they're not going to do it.
Well, okay, let's talk about that briefly. We still have some more chat questions. We have our special guest joining us in about 10 minutes. But that here's the thing. I think we're at the point now where everything Disney makes is shit.
Yeah.
Like everything is tainted. And my understanding is for this Peter Pan and Wendy. Have you seen the trailer?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad.
I saw it.
Yeah. Well, there's two things. One, the production value looks spectacular. It looks epic. I like the look of it, physical look. But when you saw the Lost Days, I thought that it's supposed to be the Lost Boys, but there's girls. I guess call them the Lost Days at this point. Just so much of it was, we're at that point where everything Disney does turns to shit.
Introducing Sparkle.
So, what are your thoughts on Peter Pan and Wendy?
I mean,
real quick.
So we got the presentation for this at D23, and I'm like, oh my god, they're doing it all over again. And everything we've ever said about past Disney projects is happening in this one. I think the sense I got was the show should be called Wendy and Peter Pan. Black Tinkerbell. It's like, there has to come a point where, you've got to honor the past, and you've got to honor what people loved about the past, and not feel like you have to change it for reasons of wokeness and diversity. Because again, I don't feel represented in either of those Tinkerbells. So when's my reparations? Where's my tonight?
I just think that, and Dante and I were talking about this yesterday, is like, to me, it's, and other people are finally starting to point it out, it's pandering bullshit. Yeah. It's pandering to just race swap rather than tell original stories. Right. There are, I was watching Young Ripa. I don't know if you watched that show.
Eric July is amazing, man.
Eric July. Yeah. He says it like, do you realize how many rich African fairy tales, fables, and myths like exist that could be made into movies or cartoon shows, and it would be authentic, right? And guess what? There doesn't need to be any white people in it, because who cares? You don't need diversity. You need authenticity, and that's what's missing. It feels
and that shows though. That shows how full of shit Disney is, because. Yes. Yeah, they could take those stories, right? Like when we talked yesterday, before the movie, we talked about how there is an African version of mermaids that they could have actually have done, and that story of that African, version of a mermaid, they could have did that story instead of race swapping Ariel, right, from the Little Mermaid, right? But see, they knew by doing that that would be a risk, right? Because then you got to be original, right? It's easier just to race swap when you have an established IP. And it shows that Disney isn't woke. Well, they're woke, but they're not enlightened as they like to pretend they are. They just are trying to save a buck.
Was it Alan? We got the chat's on fire here. There's Alan, you were telling me when you were at D23 that Disney did make a deal. It got no press whatsoever.
Yeah, zero press.
Disney made a deal with an African animation company that's doing an authentically produced story. Could tell us about it again, just so a lot of people may not have seen that.
I mean, I don't have the details of the names in front of me, but yeah, there was an African, I believe it's Nigeria, production house that wanted to tell African stories animated, and they tweeted basically saying, Disney, we're coming for you. And I guess Disney decided, well, we better grab these guys before they come for us.
Basically invested in the
yeah, but the story they described, very African story, and it's a modern African story. It's not one that, there's levels in which the past is brought into it. But the benefit that Disney gives them is they're going to get the animation powerhouse, animation software that to tell this story, and they'll be able to. It's African made, African written, African starred, and that's great. And I hope it does well when it comes to the States. Film Threat.